Commander Zexhai of the Korthani Imperial Fleet had studied every major military engagement in galactic history. His tactical computer held records of over 12,000 successful planetary invasions. The blue-scaled reptilian had earned his position through careful planning and flawless execution. Never in his 47 standard years had he encountered a puzzle quite like the one displayed on his command screen. Earth hung before them like a blue marble streaked with white clouds. Intelligence reports confirmed minimal orbital defenses, no energy shields, and primitive kinetic weapons that posed no threat to his fleet's advanced shielding. The humans had barely achieved basic space flight and maintained only a handful of crude stations around their world. By every tactical measure, this should have been the easiest conquest in Korthani military history. Yet something felt wrong. "Sir, the reconnaissance drones have completed their orbital sweep," reported Lieutenant Vextol from the sensor station. "The planet shows standard defensive patterns. Their military installations are clustered around major population centers, exactly as predicted." Zexhai's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the recycled air of the bridge. His species had evolved from ambush predators, and every instinct screamed danger despite the logical assessment. "What time cycle is it on the primary continent?" "Local solar cycle indicates early morning, approximately 3 hours past dawn on the western landmass they call North America." The commander studied the tactical display. Standard protocol demanded immediate assault during optimal conditions. His fleet of 200 vessels possessed enough firepower to reduce the planet's surface to molten slag within hours. The mission seemed almost insultingly simple. "Sir, Admiral Corksthal sends his regards and requests confirmation of invasion timeline," announced the communications officer. Admiral Corksthal commanded the 3rd Imperial Armada from his massive dreadnought, the Bloodied Fawn. The veteran officer had personally overseen the conquest of 14 worlds, including the notoriously difficult siege of Vex Prime. His presence on this mission had initially seemed like bureaucratic excess, but now Zexhai wondered if higher command knew something about these humans that wasn't in the standard briefings. "Tell the Admiral I'm implementing a 12-hour observation period before commencing attack," Zexhai replied. Lieutenant Vextol's scales shifted to a pale yellow, indicating confusion. "Sir, regulations specify immediate engagement once orbital superiority is established." "Regulations also specify proper intelligence gathering," Zexhai snapped. "I want continuous monitoring of human military responses, communication patterns, and defensive preparations. Something about this assignment doesn't feel right." The next several hours passed uneventfully. Human governments detected the alien presence quickly enough, though their response seemed almost pathetically inadequate. Military forces scrambled across the globe, but their weapons remained primitive projectile systems and crude missile technology. Nothing that could threaten even the smallest vessels in Zexhai's fleet. What puzzled him was the apparent lack of panic among the civilian population. Intelligence suggested humans were an emotionally volatile species prone to irrational behavior under stress. Yet the drone footage showed people going about their daily routines with only minor disruptions. Children still attended their learning institutions. Adults continued their work cycles. It was almost as if the humans weren't particularly concerned about an alien invasion force parking on their doorstep. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," reported the communications officer. "Display it." The main screen flickered, revealing a middle-aged human female in what appeared to be formal attire. Behind her stood symbols that intelligence identified as representing the planet's dominant political confederation. "To the commanders of the alien vessels currently in orbit around Earth, I am Secretary General Maria Santos of the United Nations. We welcome you to our solar system and hope that peaceful dialogue might resolve any misunderstandings that have brought your forces here." Zexhai studied the human female's posture and vocal patterns. His training in xenopsychology detected no signs of deception or fear. If anything, she seemed almost bored by the situation. "We understand that your arrival may be part of standard galactic protocol for first contact with developing civilizations. While we regret any inconvenience our technological limitations may cause, we hope that reasonable beings such as yourselves will consider the benefits of peaceful interaction over hostile action." The transmission continued for several more minutes. offering various proposals for diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges. Throughout the entire message, the human displayed the same calm demeanor that intelligence reports suggested was completely contrary to her species' normal psychological profile. "What do you make of this, Lieutenant?" Zexhai asked. Vextol's tail twitched nervously. "Either they're incredibly naive about the reality of their situation, or they know something we don't, sir." "My thoughts exactly. Continue monitoring all communication channels. I want to know what they're not telling us." As the day progressed, Zexhai's unease only increased. Human military forces had indeed mobilized, but their activities seemed more focused on evacuation and defensive positioning rather than preparing for a hopeless last stand. It was almost as if they expected to survive the encounter. More disturbing were the intercepts from civilian communication networks. Rather than panicked conversations about impending doom, the humans seemed to be discussing practical matters like work schedules and social obligations. Many actually seemed annoyed that the alien arrival might disrupt their evening plans. "Sir, Admiral Corksthal is requesting an immediate conference," announced the communications officer. The Admiral's scarred visage filled the screen moments later. Corksthal had lost his left eye during the Vex Prime campaign, and the cybernetic replacement glowed an ominous red in his dark eye socket. "Commander Zexhai, explain this delay. My sensors show optimal conditions for planetary assault, yet your forces remain in holding position." "Admiral, I believe additional reconnaissance is warranted. The humans' response patterns don't match our psychological profiles. Their response patterns are irrelevant. They possess no weapons capable of threatening our fleet. I've reviewed the tactical assessments myself. With respect, sir, something feels wrong about this situation. I recommend we wait until tomorrow before beginning the attack." Corksthal's remaining natural eye narrowed dangerously. "Commander, you have 15 minutes to provide a satisfactory explanation for this breach of protocol. Otherwise, I'll assume command personally and begin bombardment immediately." Zexhai's claws extended involuntarily. "Sir, I request permission to speak freely." "Granted. Every successful predator learns to trust their instincts, Admiral. My instincts are telling me that these humans are hiding something significant. I've never encountered a species so calm in the face of overwhelming force. Either they're completely insane, or they possess defensive capabilities we haven't identified." The Admiral's expression remained skeptical. "Our intelligence gathering is the most thorough in the galaxy, Commander. Every human military installation has been mapped and analyzed. Their most advanced weapons are chemical propellant projectiles and primitive guided missiles. A single one of our frigates could eliminate their entire planetary defense grid. Then, why do I feel like we're walking into a trap?" For a moment, Corksthal's cybernetic eye dimmed as he considered the question. The veteran officer had survived dozens of campaigns by balancing aggressive tactics with careful paranoia. "Very well, Commander. You have until local sunset to justify this delay. But, I warn you, if this proves to be simple combat anxiety, your career will end in disgrace." As the day wore on, Zexhai threw every sensor array at the planet's surface. Deep penetration scanners mapped underground installations. Electromagnetic sensors monitored all communication frequencies. Thermal imaging tracked every heat signature above background level. The results remained consistently disappointing. Earth appeared to be exactly what it seemed, a primitive world protected only by obsolete weapons and the fierce determination of its inhabitants. There were no hidden orbital platforms, no concealed energy weapons, no underground bunker systems containing advanced technology. The humans were, by every measurable standard, completely helpless. Yet they acted like they held all the cards. "Sir, the planet's rotation is bringing the primary continent into its dark cycle," reported Lieutenant Vextol. Zexhai watched the Terminator line creep across North America as Earth turned away from its star. City lights began twinkling to life across the darkening landscape, creating a beautiful mosaic of human civilization spread across the continent. "Beautiful, isn't it, sir?" commented the sensor officer. "Indeed," Zexhai murmured. "Almost too beautiful to destroy." "Sir, incoming priority transmission from Admiral Corksthal." The Admiral's image reappeared on the main screen, his expression grim with determination. "Commander, your time is up. I'm assuming direct command of this operation." All vessels will begin bombardment in 10 minutes. Admiral, I formally request a delay until dawn. Request denied. Prepare for immediate assault. Zexhai felt his throat sacs inflate with stress hormones. Sir, at least allow me to conduct one final sensor sweep. Give me 30 minutes to scan for any anomalous energy signatures. Commander, you're beginning to sound like a coward. The words hit Zexhai like a physical blow. In Korthani culture, accusations of cowardice were among the gravest insults possible. His honor demanded an immediate challenge to personal combat, but military discipline held him in check. Admiral, I have never retreated from any engagement. I have led successful assaults on 12 worlds. I am not afraid of humans or their primitive weapons. I am concerned about tactical intelligence that may be incomplete. Korkstull stared at him for several long moments. Finally, the Admiral's expression softened slightly. Very well. You have 30 minutes for a complete sensor sweep. But when those scans confirm what we already know, this fleet will reduce every human city to ash. Understood. Understood, Admiral. As the communications channel closed, Zexhai turned to his sensor crew. I want every scanner we have focused on the planet's surface. Deep penetration, electromagnetic spectrum analysis, gravimetric readings, quantum field fluctuations, everything. Sir, should we focus on the daylight areas or the regions entering darkness? Asked the chief sensor operator. Zexhai studied the rotating planet below. Something about the approaching night cycle continued to bother him, though he couldn't identify exactly what. Split your attention. I want complete coverage of both hemispheres. The next 20 minutes produced exactly the results everyone expected. Earth remained thoroughly primitive, thoroughly defenseless, and thoroughly doomed. Zexhai's final hope for discovering hidden human capabilities faded with each negative sensor reading. Sir, 5 minutes until bombardment begins, announced Lieutenant Vextol. Zexhai closed his eyes and offered a brief prayer to the scaled gods for forgiveness. He had done everything possible to avoid unnecessary slaughter. If the humans possessed some hidden defense, they had concealed it beyond the detection capabilities of the most advanced scanning technology in the galaxy. All vessels, prepare for orbital bombardment. Target priority Alpha, major population centers, and military installations. Across the fleet, weapons systems hummed to life. Plasma cannons charged their firing chambers. Kinetic bombardment systems aligned their targeting computers. Torpedo tubes loaded their deadly cargo. The night side of Earth turned slowly beneath them, its cities glowing like scattered jewels against the darkness. In just a few moments, those lights would be extinguished forever. Sir, all weapons show ready status, reported the weapons officer. Admiral Korkstull signals fleet ready to commence bombardment on your command, sir. Zexhai took a deep breath and opened his mouth to give the order that would doom an entire civilization. Then, every alarm on the ship began screaming at once. Contact. Multiple contacts rising from the planet's surface. Impossible, Zexhai breathed. Our sensors showed no launch facilities capable of. Sir, these aren't launching from facilities. They're rising directly from urban areas. The tactical display exploded into chaos as thousands of new contacts appeared across the night side of Earth. But these weren't missiles or spacecraft. The energy signatures were completely unlike anything in the galactic database. Analysis. Zexhai shouted over the alarm klaxons. Unknown, sir. Energy patterns suggest some form of controlled flight, but the propulsion method doesn't match any known technology. Size estimates. Contacts range from approximately 2 meters to over 50 meters in length, all showing sustained atmospheric flight with no visible means of propulsion. Zexhai stared at the sensor display in growing horror. Thousands of unknown flying objects were rising from every major city on Earth's night side. They moved with purpose and coordination that suggested intelligence and organization. Communications. Get me Admiral Korkstull immediately. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, his expression matching Zexhai's own confusion and alarm. Report, Commander. Sir, we have multiple unknown contacts rising from the planet's surface. Thousands of them, all from areas currently in darkness. Impossible. Our intelligence was thorough. Admiral, recommend we abort the attack and withdraw to a safe distance for analysis. For the first time in his military career, Zexhai watched Admiral Corksthull's confidence waver. The veteran officer had built his reputation on complete preparation and overwhelming force. The appearance of unknown enemy forces was not part of his tactical doctrine. How long until the closest contacts reach weapon range? Corksthull asked. At current velocity, approximately 4 minutes, sir. All vessels, implement immediate withdrawal to high orbit. Maximum defensive posture. Do not engage unless directly attacked. As the Corthani fleet began pulling back from Earth, Zexhai watched the mysterious contacts continue rising from the planet's surface. They showed no signs of pursuit, instead taking up what appeared to be defensive formations around major population centers. Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the planet's surface. Display it. Secretary General Santos appeared on screen again, though this time she was standing in what appeared to be an underground command center. Her expression remained calm, but Zexhai detected a subtle change in her demeanor. Commander of the alien fleet, I hope you will forgive our little deception. We felt it important that you understand the true nature of our world before making any irreversible decisions. Behind her, the command center bustled with activity as humans in military uniforms coordinated what was obviously a massive defensive operation. As you've no doubt discovered, Earth is not quite as defenseless as our technology level might suggest. We are, in fact, under the protection of forces that prefer to avoid daylight operations. They have kindly agreed to reveal themselves in order to prevent any unfortunate misunderstandings. The transmission shifted to display aerial footage of the mysterious flying objects. In the darkness, they were difficult to make out clearly, but they moved with an otherworldly grace that sent chills down Zexhai's spine. These protectors have watched over humanity for many centuries. They are not human themselves, but they have grown quite fond of our species. Any threat to Earth or its inhabitants would be poorly received. Secretary General Santos's image returned to the screen. However, they are also reasonable beings who understand that galactic politics can be complicated. If you wish to establish peaceful diplomatic relations with Earth, they would be happy to facilitate such discussions. I'm sure we can find mutually beneficial arrangements that serve everyone's interests. The transmission ended, leaving Zexhai staring at a blank screen. Orders, sir, whispered Lieutenant Vextol. Zexhai looked at the tactical display where thousands of unknown contacts continued their silent patrol around Earth's night side. His instincts had been right. There was definitely more to these humans than met the eye. Signal Admiral Corksthull. Request immediate consultation on new tactical parameters. Whatever was protecting Earth had just changed the entire balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. And Zexhai had the uncomfortable feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger mystery. Admiral Corksthull's war room aboard the Bloodied Fong buzzed with tense activity. Holographic displays showed the mysterious contacts maintaining their defensive positions around Earth, while Corthani analysts worked frantically to identify the unknown technology. The veteran commander's cybernetic eye glowed brighter than usual as he processed tactical data that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare. Report from Intelligence Division, announced Captain Mordex, sliding a data tablet across the polished metal table. Analysis of the contact signatures confirms our worst fears. Corksthull studied the readings with growing unease. These energy patterns don't match anything in our galactic database. Nothing, sir. The propulsion method appears to be some form of controlled gravimetric manipulation, but the power requirements should be impossible for objects of this size. Our best estimates suggest technology at least 3 generations beyond current galactic standard. Commander Zexhai entered the war room, his scales still showing the pale coloration of stress. Admiral, I've completed the tactical assessment you requested. The situation is far worse than our initial observations suggested. Explain. Zexhai activated the central holographic display, showing a detailed view of Earth's night side. The defensive formation these contacts have assumed demonstrates sophisticated military coordination. They've positioned themselves to provide overlapping coverage of all major population centers while maintaining clear firing lanes to space. Admiral Corksthull leaned forward, studying the projection. Numbers. Current count shows approximately 12,000 active contacts, with more rising from urban areas every few minutes. At this rate, We could be facing 20,000 or more unknown craft by full dark. Weapon signatures? That's where things become truly disturbing, sir. Our sensors detect no conventional weapons on these craft, no energy projectors, no missile tubes, no kinetic launchers. Yet they're generating electromagnetic interference that suggests massive power reserves. Captain Mordex pulled up additional data streams. We've also detected quantum field fluctuations around each contact that our physics department can't explain. Whatever these things are capable of, it's beyond our current understanding of technology. Corksthull's claws drummed against the table's surface as he considered the implications. In 40 years of military service, he had never encountered a situation where his forces were this completely outmatched by unknown factors. What about the humans themselves? Any changes in their behavior patterns? Affirmative, Zexhai replied. Human military forces have stood down from their defensive positions and returned to normal operations. Civilian populations are resuming standard evening activities. It's as if they knew these protectors would appear. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth's surface, announced the communications officer. They're requesting permission to send a diplomatic shuttle. A shuttle? Their space technology can barely achieve orbit. Sir, the transmission specifies that the shuttle will be provided by their protectors. Admiral Corksthull considered this development. Standard diplomatic protocol required accepting peaceful overtures, but the situation had moved far beyond standard parameters. Grant permission for one shuttle, maintain full defensive posture, and track its approach vector. 20 minutes later, the Corthani sensors detected a single contact rising from Earth's surface. Unlike the mysterious defensive craft, this vessel generated recognizable electromagnetic signatures consistent with advanced gravimetric drive systems. As it approached the bloodied Fong, detailed scans revealed a sleek design unlike anything in the galactic database. Sir, the shuttle is requesting docking permission. Granted. Direct them to Docking Bay 7. Full security detail, standing by. Corksthull made his way to the docking bay, accompanied by Commander Zexhai and a squad of elite guards. Whatever was about to come through that airlock, he wanted to be prepared for any possibility. The shuttle that emerged from the docking tube was a masterpiece of engineering elegance. Its hull showed no visible seams or mechanical joints, as if the entire craft had been grown rather than built. Soft blue light emanated from crystalline structures embedded in its surface, and the whole vessel hummed with barely audible harmonic frequencies. A section of the hull simply dissolved away, revealing an airlock that opened without any visible mechanical process. Two figures emerged, one human female in formal diplomatic attire, and something else entirely. The non-human being stood approximately 3 meters tall, with pale, luminescent skin and features that seemed to shift subtly in the artificial lighting. Its eyes held depths that suggested vast intelligence and experience, while its movements possessed an otherworldly grace that made the watching Corthani soldiers unconsciously step backward. Admiral Corksthull, the human, spoke first. I am Ambassador Chun of the United Earth Council. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. The tall being inclined its head slightly. When it spoke, its voice seemed to resonate from everywhere at once rather than coming from its mouth. I am known as Luminous Path Through Starlight to my people, though humans often find our names difficult to pronounce. You may call me Lumi. Corksthull studied the alien being with his cybernetic eyes' advanced sensors, but the readings came back as incomprehensible data streams. Whatever Lumi was, it existed partially outside normal space-time. I am Admiral Corksthull of the Corthani Third Armada. I assume you represent the forces currently defending Earth. In part, my people are, but one of several species that have taken an interest in humanity's development. Earth has become quite precious to us. Ambassador Chen smiled diplomatically. Perhaps we could discuss this in more comfortable surroundings? I understand you have conference facilities aboard this vessel. The meeting relocated to the Admiral's formal conference chamber, where holographic star charts and tactical displays created an appropriately impressive atmosphere for diplomatic negotiations. Lumi moved through the ship's corridors with obvious familiarity, as if the being had studied Corthani vessel designs extensively. Before we begin formal discussions, Corksthull said once everyone was seated, I must ask about the nature of your defensive fleet. Our sensors cannot identify the technology involved. Lumi's expression might have been amusement, though alien facial expressions were difficult to interpret. Your people are young in the ways of the galaxy, Admiral. You measure advancement by the size of weapons and the thickness of armor. There are older methods of achieving security, such as harmony with forces that exist beyond the merely physical. Your sensors detect electromagnetic radiation and gravitational fields, but they cannot perceive the deeper currents that flow through all existence. Commander Zexhai leaned forward. Are you saying your technology is based on some form of mystical power? Not mystical. Simply operating on principles your science has not yet discovered. What you call supernatural is merely natural phenomena your instruments cannot measure. Ambassador Chen interjected smoothly. What I think our friend is trying to explain is that Earth's protectors represent civilizations far older than any currently active in this galaxy. They've moved beyond purely technological solutions to achieve capabilities that might seem impossible to younger species. Admiral Corksthal processed this information with growing unease. The Korthani Empire prided itself on possessing the most advanced military technology in known space. The idea that there were civilizations so far ahead of galactic standard that their capabilities seemed like magic was deeply disturbing. How long have these protectors been watching Earth? He asked. Lumi's eyes seemed to focus on distant memories. My people first encountered humanity approximately 12,000 of your years ago. We found them fascinating. Most species that achieve intelligence follow predictable patterns of development. Humans are remarkably different. Different how? They possess what you might call unlimited potential for both creation and destruction. Most intelligent species reach natural limits in their capabilities. Humans appear to have no such limitations. They continue growing, changing, adapting in ways that should be impossible. Ambassador Chen nodded. Our protectors have been very patient teachers. They've helped guide our development while allowing us to maintain our essential humanity. It's been quite beneficial for both sides. What do they gain from this arrangement? Zexhai asked. Lumi's attention turned to the commander with an intensity that made his scales pale involuntarily. Humans dream in ways no other species can match. Their imagination creates possibilities that even we had never considered. In return for our protection, they share their dreams with us. The implications of this statement sent chills down Corksthul's spine. Advanced alien species using humans as some kind of inspiration source suggested capabilities far beyond anything the Korthani military was equipped to handle. And the other protector species? Each has their own relationship with humanity. The Whisperers find human music fascinating beyond measure. The Stone Dancers are entranced by human architecture and engineering. The Void Swimmers appreciate human literature and philosophy. All of us have found reasons to value Earth's continued independence. How many species are involved in this protection arrangement? Currently, 17 distinct civilizations maintain defense agreements with Earth. Most operate only during the dark cycle of your planet's rotation, as we find daylight uncomfortable. Admiral Corksthal exchanged glances with Commander Zexhai. 17 advanced alien species protecting one primitive world meant that Earth was effectively the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. What would happen if we chose to proceed with our invasion anyway? Corksthal asked. The conference room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Lumi's luminescent skin brightened noticeably, and the harmonic humming from the mysterious shuttle increased in volume. Admiral, I hope such a choice will not be necessary. My people and our allies are peaceful by nature. We have no desire for conflict with the Korthani Empire or any other galactic power. That's not an answer to my question. Lumi stood gracefully, moving to the large viewing port that showed Earth hanging in space below them. Your vessel is impressive, Admiral. Your fleet represents the pinnacle of Korthani military engineering. Against any conventional force in this galaxy, you would be unstoppable. The being turned back to face the Korthani officers, and for a moment its eyes seemed to contain swirling galaxies. However, my people learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality when your star was still forming from cosmic dust. The Whisperers existed before matter itself condensed from the quantum foam. The Void Swimmers swim through dimensions that your physics cannot even theorize. Ambassador Chen leaned forward diplomatically. What our friend is trying to explain is that Earth's protection operates on scales that make conventional military force irrelevant. Any attack on Earth would not result in a battle in any sense you would understand. Then, what would it result in? Zexhai asked quietly. Your fleet would simply stop existing, Lumi replied matter-of-factly. Not destroyed, not defeated. You would be gently relocated to a reality where you had never chosen to attack Earth in the first place. From your perspective, you would have always decided to pursue diplomatic relations instead. The casual mention of reality manipulation sent waves of primal fear through both Korthani officers. Their species had built an empire on the principle that superior firepower could overcome any obstacle. The concept of enemies who could simply edit their existence was beyond their worst nightmares. I think, Admiral Corksthal said carefully, that diplomatic relations would indeed be the preferable option. Excellent, Ambassador Chen smiled. Earth is always interested in expanding peaceful contact with our galactic neighbors. We have quite a lot to offer in terms of cultural exchange, resource sharing, and technological development partnerships. What kind of technological development? Lumi returned to its seat with that unnaturally fluid movement. Humans possess a unique gift for taking existing technologies and finding completely new applications. They can look at a gravimetric drive and discover 17 different uses no one else ever imagined. This creativity extends to all areas of science and engineering. In return for protection agreements and trade partnerships, Ambassador Chen continued, Earth offers exclusive access to human innovation and problem-solving capabilities. Many of our current protector species have advanced their own technology significantly through collaboration with human researchers. Admiral Corksthal found himself in the unprecedented position of conducting diplomatic negotiations from a position of complete disadvantage. Standard Korthani doctrine assumed that superior military force would always provide negotiating leverage. This situation required entirely different skills. What would such a partnership involve for the Korthani Empire? Mutual defense agreements, technology sharing, cultural exchange programs, and preferred trading status, Ambassador Chen replied. Earth is particularly interested in Korthani expertise in materials engineering and ship construction. In return, we could offer consultation on creative applications for existing technologies. And the protection agreements? Lumi's expression remained serene. Any nation that maintains peaceful relations with Earth enjoys the same protection we offer to humanity. The galaxy is vast and contains many dangers. Having allies who operate outside conventional physical limitations can be quite beneficial. The offer was almost too good to be true. Protection from beings who could manipulate reality itself, access to human innovation, and preferred trading status with what appeared to be the most strategically valuable world in the galaxy. I would need to consult with the Imperial Council, Corksthal said finally. Of course, we understand that such decisions require careful consideration. Ambassador Chen stood, indicating that the meeting was concluding. However, I should mention that this offer has a time limit. What kind of time limit? Lumi rose as well, its luminescent skin beginning to pulse with strange patterns. Galactic politics are becoming increasingly unstable. Several major powers are considering aggressive expansion policies. Earth's protectors feel it would be beneficial to establish clear alliances before conflicts begin. How long do we have? 30 standard days, Ambassador Chen replied. After that, Earth will be closing its borders to all non-allied species until the current period of instability resolves. As the diplomatic party prepared to leave, Admiral Corksthal found himself facing the most important decision of his military career. The Korthani Empire could continue its expansion through conquest and intimidation, or it could accept junior partnership status with a primitive world protected by godlike aliens. Ambassador, one final question. Why are these protectors only active during Earth's night cycle? Lumi paused at the airlock entrance. Different species have different needs, Admiral. Some of us find the electromagnetic radiation from Earth's star uncomfortable. Others prefer the peace and quiet that comes with darkness. And some simply appreciate the beauty of human cities when they glow with artificial light. The being's eyes seem to focus on something far beyond the ship's bulkheads. But, mostly, we find that humans dream most vividly during their dark hours. and those dreams are worth protecting. After the shuttle departed, Admiral Corksthal and Commander Zexhai stood in the observation deck, watching Earth slowly rotate beneath them. The mysterious defensive fleet remained in position around the night side, a silent reminder of powers beyond Corthani understanding. "What do you think, Commander?" Zexhai's scales had returned to their normal coloration, though his posture still showed signs of stress. "Sir, I think we just discovered why no one attacks Earth after nightfall." "Indeed. Prepare a full report for the Imperial Council. Include complete sensor logs and tactical assessments." Recommendation? Admiral Corksthal watched the lights of human cities twinkling in the darkness below, each one now representing not just civilian populations, but access to capabilities that could reshape the galaxy itself. Full alliance, whatever the cost. 3 weeks after the diplomatic meeting, the Corthani Imperial Council chambers buzzed with heated debate. Representatives from across the Empire had gathered on the homeworld of Cortha Prime to discuss what many considered the most significant strategic decision in their civilization's history. Emperor Vexroth himself presided over the session, his ancient scales bearing the ceremonial scarring that marked him as a warrior of legendary status. Admiral Corksthal stood at the central podium, his cybernetic eye casting red light across the data displays that showed detailed analysis of Earth's defensive capabilities. Around him, hundreds of military commanders, political leaders, and strategic advisors voiced their opinions in the controlled chaos that passed for democratic discourse among the Corthani. "The proposal is madness," declared General Yexkoth, commander of the 5th Imperial Army. "The Corthani Empire has never accepted subordinate status to any power. We conquer worlds, we do not bow to them." "With respect, General, you did not see what I witnessed," Corksthal replied. "Earth's protectors operate on technological levels that render our entire military doctrine obsolete." Supreme Admiral Kexmoreth, the Empire's highest-ranking naval officer, activated a holographic display showing fleet deployment statistics. "Admiral Corksthal, your report describes 17 alien species with reality manipulation capabilities. If such powers existed, surely our intelligence networks would have detected them. That assumes our intelligence networks are capable of detecting technologies based on principles we don't understand," Corksthal responded. "The fact that we've never encountered these beings before suggests they prefer to remain hidden unless their interests are threatened." Emperor Vexroth raised a clawed hand, and the chamber fell silent. The ancient ruler had guided the Corthani Empire through 8 centuries of expansion and had never been known to back down from any challenge. "Admiral, you claim these protectors can simply erase our fleet from existence. Explain how this differs from any other advanced weapons system." Corksthal activated his personal data display, showing the sensor readings from his encounter with Lumi's shuttle. "Your Majesty, conventional weapons destroy matter by converting it to energy. These beings appear capable of manipulating the quantum foundations of reality itself. They don't destroy targets, they edit them out of existence entirely." "Theoretical nonsense," scoffed Chief Science Advisor Nextal. "Such capabilities would require energy expenditures equivalent to stellar output. No single vessel could contain that much power. Unless," Corksthal continued, "they're drawing power from sources outside normal spacetime. The quantum field fluctuations around their craft suggest access to dimensions we can't even measure." The debate continued for hours, with military leaders arguing for conventional invasion, while scientists demanded more research into the unknown technologies. Political advisors worried about the Empire's reputation if they accepted subordinate status to a primitive world, while economists calculated the potential benefits of exclusive access to human innovation. During a brief recess, Commander Zexhai approached the Admiral with a priority message tablet. "Sir, urgent communication from our monitoring station in the Sol system." Corksthal reviewed the data with growing alarm. "When did this happen?" "Approximately 6 hours ago. The Vectar Consortium launched a probe fleet to test Earth's defenses. 40 vessels, including 3 heavy cruisers. And complete loss of contact after the fleet reached the night side of Earth. No distress signals, no debris, nothing. It's as if they simply vanished." The implications were staggering. The Vectar Consortium represented one of the most technologically advanced military forces in the galaxy. Their probe fleets were specifically designed to test enemy defenses while remaining safely distant from actual threats. The complete disappearance of 40 vessels suggested capabilities even more terrifying than Lumi had implied. When the session resumed, Korkthul shared the new intelligence. The chamber erupted into chaos as representatives realized that Earth's protectors were actively defending against multiple potential threats. Your Majesty, Korkthul addressed the Emperor directly. Permission to speak candidly? Granted. We are not dealing with another galactic power that we can defeat through superior strategy or overwhelming force. Earth's protectors represent something entirely outside our normal understanding of warfare. The question is not whether we can conquer Earth, but whether we can afford to become their enemy. General Yexkoth stood to respond. Admiral, you're asking us to abandon 12 centuries of imperial expansion based on unverified claims about impossible technologies. General, I'm asking us to recognize reality before it's too late to adapt. Emperor Vexroth studied the tactical displays with the keen intelligence that had kept the Empire stable for 800 years. Admiral, assume for the moment that these capabilities are real. What assurance do we have that Earth's protectors will honor their diplomatic agreements? Your Majesty, they've had the power to eliminate any threat to Earth for thousands of years, yet they've remained hidden until directly confronted. This suggests they prefer negotiation to conflict whenever possible. Or it suggests they're manipulating us into a false sense of security before revealing their true intentions, countered Supreme Admiral Kexmorth. The debate might have continued indefinitely if not for the arrival of an unexpected visitor. Palace guards escorted a tall, elegant figure into the chamber, an individual whose presence immediately changed the entire atmosphere of the discussion. Ambassador Chun of the United Earth Council stood before the assembled might of the Korthani Empire with the same calm confidence she had displayed during the orbital meeting. Behind her walked Lumi, whose luminescent skin seemed to absorb and redirect the chamber's artificial lighting in impossible ways. Your Imperial Majesty, Ambassador Chun addressed the Emperor with perfect diplomatic protocol. Thank you for allowing us to address your council during these important deliberations. Emperor Vexrotha's scarred features showed no emotion, but his cybernetic implants glowed brighter as he processed the implications of Earth's representatives appearing uninvited in his most secure chamber. How did you enter our space without detection? He asked. Lumi responded with that harmonic voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Your Majesty, we mean no disrespect to your security measures. However, our arrival was deemed necessary to address certain misconceptions that appear to be complicating your decision-making process. What misconceptions? Ambassador Chun activated a small device that projected holographic images into the center of the chamber. Your council appears to be operating under the assumption that Earth's protection arrangements represent some form of expansionist agenda. We're here to clarify that this is not the case. The holographic display showed star charts covering thousands of light years around Earth. Hundreds of inhabited worlds were marked in various colors, indicating their political affiliations and strategic importance. Earth has absolutely no interest in territorial expansion or political dominance, Chin continued. Our protection arrangements exist purely to maintain our planet's independence and cultural development. We have no desire to rule other worlds or interfere in galactic politics. General Yexkoth stepped forward. Then, why are you here? Lumi's eyes focused on the military commander with an intensity that made him unconsciously step backward. Because certain events are approaching that will affect all civilized species in this galaxy. Earth's protectors feel it would be beneficial if stable powers like the Korthani Empire were properly prepared. What events? Emperor Vexroth demanded. The holographic display shifted to show the outer rim of the galaxy, where massive energy signatures pulsed ominously near previously empty regions of space. Ancient powers are awakening, Lumi explained. Civilizations that went dormant millions of years ago are beginning to stir. Their return will bring changes that younger species may find challenging to survive. Ambassador Chen nodded gravely. Earth's protectors have been monitoring these developments for several thousand years. Based on their analysis, the galaxy is entering a period of fundamental transformation that will require unprecedented cooperation between all intelligent species. Transformation into what? Asked Chief Science Advisor Nextall. Something greater than the sum of its parts, Lumi replied. The returning ancients possess capabilities that make our own technologies seem primitive by comparison. However, they also possess wisdom that could benefit all of galactic civilization if properly shared. The chamber fell silent as representatives processed the implications of even more advanced alien powers emerging from cosmic hibernation. What does this have to do with our relationship with Earth? Supreme Admiral Kexmorath asked. Earth's protectors have been selected to serve as intermediaries between the returning ancients and younger galactic civilizations, Ambassador Chen explained. Species that maintain alliance relationships with Earth will have access to guidance and protection during the transition period. And species that don't? Emperor Vexroth inquired. Lumi's expression might have been sadness. They will face the ancients' return without preparation or understanding. Most will not survive the experience. The Emperor's scarred features showed the calculation of a ruler who had survived 8 centuries of political and military challenges. What guarantees do we have that these ancient powers will honor Earth's protection agreements? Your Majesty, Lumi replied. My people are among the youngest of Earth's protectors. The eldest among us have been waiting for the ancients' return since before your star system formed. This transition has been planned for millions of years. Admiral Corksthal studied the star charts with professional interest. How many other galactic powers are aware of this situation? Currently, none, Ambassador Chen replied. Earth's protectors felt it appropriate to offer alliance relationships to stable, honorable civilizations before making general announcements. The Korthani Empire was selected based on your reputation for keeping agreements and maintaining order. Selected for what exactly? Lumi moved closer to the central display, its luminescent skin pulsing with complex patterns. To serve as regional coordinators for this section of the galaxy. Earth lacks the infrastructure and population to manage direct relationships with every intelligent species. We need allied civilizations to help guide the transition process. The implications were staggering. Rather than accepting subordinate status, the Korthani Empire was being offered a position as Earth's primary representative to hundreds of other worlds. What would this coordination involve? General Yexkoth asked. Military protection for developing species, technological assistance for scientific advancement, diplomatic mediation for political conflicts, and cultural preservation efforts during the transition period, Ambassador Chen listed. Essentially, everything the Korthani Empire already does, but with the backing of Earth's protectors and access to ancient knowledge. Emperor Vexroth leaned back in his throne, considering the proposal with the careful analysis that had kept his empire stable for centuries. And if we decline this offer? Then another civilization will be selected for the role, Lumi replied simply. The Zephyrian Confederacy has already expressed interest, as has the Stellar Communion of Independent Worlds. The mention of rival powers shifted the entire political calculation. If the Korthani Empire rejected Earth's alliance, their competitors would gain access to technologies and protection that could render Korthani military superiority meaningless. What timeline are we discussing for this transition? Supreme Admiral Kex_Morath asked. The ancients will begin active communication within the next 50 standard years, Ambassador Chen replied. Full emergence from dormancy is expected within 200 years. The preparation period needs to begin immediately. Commander Zexhai spoke up from his position near Admiral Corksthal. What kind of preparation? Lumi's attention turned to the young commander with obvious approval. Technological upgrading to handle forces beyond conventional physics. Philosophical preparation for contact with beings whose intelligence operates on cosmic scales. Cultural preservation efforts to maintain species identity during unprecedented change. And military preparation for conflicts between species that refuse to adapt and those that embrace the transition, Ambassador Chen added. Not all civilizations will welcome the ancients' return. Some will attempt to resist through violence. The chamber buzzed with quiet discussion as representatives absorbed the magnitude of what they were being offered. The Korthani Empire could maintain its position as a major galactic power while gaining access to capabilities beyond their current imagination. But only by accepting a fundamental shift in their understanding of their place in the universe. Emperor Vexroth raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Chun, I require assurance that this alliance will not compromise Korthani autonomy or cultural identity. Your Majesty, Earth's protectors have maintained human independence for 12,000 years while providing guidance and protection. We understand the importance of preserving what makes each species unique. And the military aspects of this arrangement? Admiral Corksthul stepped forward. Your Majesty, based on my observations, alliance with Earth would enhance our military capabilities rather than limiting them. We would gain access to defensive technologies that make our current weapons obsolete while maintaining operational command of our own forces. Lumi nodded confirmation. The protection agreements work both ways. Earth's allies receive the same reality manipulation defenses that protect our world. No conventional force in the galaxy could threaten Kortha Prime if you accept alliance status. The Emperor studied the faces of his advisors, reading their expressions with the skill of a leader who had survived 8 centuries of palace intrigue. Military commanders showed cautious optimism at the prospect of unbeatable defenses. Scientists displayed excitement about access to advanced technologies. Political advisors calculated the strategic advantages of alliance with the galaxy's most protected world. Ambassador Chun, Emperor Vexroth said finally, the Korthani Empire accepts Earth's alliance proposal, with the understanding that final terms will be negotiated through appropriate diplomatic channels. The chamber erupted in quiet discussion as representatives realized they had just witnessed the most significant strategic decision in their empire's history. Ambassador Chen smiled diplomatically. Excellent, Your Majesty. We look forward to a long and mutually beneficial relationship. Lumi's luminescent skin pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. The transition begins now. May all our peoples find wisdom in the changes ahead. As the Earth representatives prepared to leave, Admiral Corksthul reflected on how completely this encounter had changed his understanding of galactic politics. The Korthani Empire had entered these negotiations expecting to conquer a primitive world, and instead had discovered their place in a cosmic transformation that had been planned for millions of years. Outside the palace windows, the stars of the galaxy sparkled with the same beauty they had always possessed. But now each point of light represented not just distant worlds to conquer, but potential allies in a future that promised to be more extraordinary than anyone had dared imagine. The age of simple conquest was ending. The age of cosmic alliance had begun. 6 months after the alliance agreement, the Korthani research station orbiting Earth had become a hub of activity unlike anything in the Empire's scientific history. Commander Zexhai, now promoted to Director of Xenotechnology Integration, watched through the observation deck as human and Korthani researchers worked side by side in laboratories that had been upgraded with technologies that challenged the fundamental laws of physics. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the Human Project Coordinator, joined him at the viewing port with her daily status report. The young xenoarchaeologist had proven remarkably adept at translating concepts between human intuitive thinking and Korthani systematic analysis. The quantum field manipulation experiments are exceeding all projections, she reported with barely contained excitement. Your engineers have managed to stabilize the dimensional interface using principles we never would have considered. Zexhai's scales showed the pale green coloration that indicated satisfaction. Human creativity combined with Korthani engineering precision appears to be an extremely effective combination. What about the ancient technology analysis? That's where things get really interesting. The artifacts Lumi provided for study don't just use advanced physics. They seem to operate on principles that redefine what physics means entirely. Dr. Martinez activated a holographic display showing complex mathematical equations that hurt to look at directly. Watch this. When we apply human conceptual thinking to Korthani computational analysis, patterns emerge that neither species could detect independently. The equations shifted and flowed, revealing underlying structures that suggested technologies based on consciousness rather than energy manipulation. Zexhai found his worldview expanding in directions he had never imagined possible. Dr. Martinez, are you saying these ancient devices are controlled by thought? More than that, they seem to be grown from crystallized thoughts of beings whose intelligence operates on cosmic scales. The technology doesn't respond to commands, it responds to understanding. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission. The main display activated, showing Ambassador Chun in what appeared to be an underground facility on Earth's surface. Director Zexhai, Dr. Martinez, we need you both for an emergency consultation. How quickly can you get to the primary research facility? What's the nature of the emergency? Zexhai asked. We've detected signs that the Ancients' awakening is accelerating. Some of them are beginning to communicate directly with our protectors. We need human Corthani analysis teams to help interpret the transmissions. 20 minutes later, Zexhai and Martinez were aboard a Corthani shuttle heading for Earth's surface. The flight path took them over the night side of the planet, where thousands of protective craft maintained their eternal vigil. As they descended through the atmosphere, Zexhai could see new formations appearing, larger vessels with designs that seemed to shift and flow like living organisms. The primary research facility was hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains in North America, connected to the surface by transport tubes that defied conventional understanding of engineering. As their shuttle was guided into an underground docking bay, Zexhai marveled at the vast scope of construction that had been completed in just 6 months. How did you build all this so quickly? He asked Dr. Martinez. We didn't build it. Earth's protectors grew it using technologies that treat matter like a malleable substance. Most of this facility was completed in 3 days. The main research chamber was a cathedral-sized space filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft, ever-changing light. Human scientists worked alongside beings that Zexhai couldn't identify, tall, ethereal figures whose forms seemed to exist partially outside normal dimensions. Lumi approached them with that characteristic fluid movement. Director Zexhai, Dr. Martinez, thank you for responding so quickly. We have received the first direct communication from the Deep Ancients in over 2 million years. What did they say? Martinez asked. That is precisely the problem. The message is encoded in conceptual frameworks that require both human intuitive analysis and Corthani systematic interpretation to decode. Neither species can understand it independently. Lumi led them to a central console where geometric patterns of impossible complexity rotated slowly in holographic suspension. The patterns seemed to contain meaning that shifted depending on how they were observed, creating different interpretations for every viewing angle. The message arrived simultaneously at every location where Earth's protectors maintain communication arrays, Lumi explained. It appears to be a greeting, a warning, and a set of instructions all encoded within the same conceptual matrix. Dr. Martinez studied the patterns with the focused intensity of a scholar encountering evidence of humanity's greatest discovery. These aren't symbols in any traditional sense. They're compressed conceptual experiences that have to be felt rather than read. Zexhai activated his cybernetic implants to record the patterns in multiple analytical formats. The mathematical relationships are consistent with dimensional folding techniques, but the execution suggests manipulation of time as well as space. Exactly, Lumi nodded approvingly. The Deep Ancients exist partially outside linear time. Their communications include past, present, and future elements simultaneously. Ambassador Chin joined the group, her expression showing the strain of someone who had been working without sleep for several days. We've established communications with allied research teams across the galaxy. Everyone is receiving similar messages, but none of the other species can decode them. What makes you think we can? Zexhai asked. Because, a new voice said from behind them, your alliance represents something unprecedented in galactic history. They turned to see a being unlike any of Earth's protectors they had encountered before. This entity appeared to be composed of crystallized starlight, its form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. When it moved, space itself seemed to ripple around it. I am called Pattern of Stars Embracing Infinity by those who remember the old languages. I am among the eldest of Earth's guardians and serve as an intermediary with the Deep Ancients. Dr. Martinez stepped forward with the fearless curiosity that characterized human researchers. You're saying that human Corthani cooperation is somehow unique? Precisely. Most galactic species develop intelligence through either systematic analysis or intuitive synthesis. Humans possess both capabilities simultaneously, while Korthani have perfected systematic analysis to a degree that approaches intuitive understanding. Your combined cognitive approaches create analytical capabilities that neither species could achieve independently. Pattern of stars activated the central console, and the rotating patterns suddenly exploded into three-dimensional complexity that filled the entire chamber. Symbols, equations, images, and concepts flowed around them in streams of living mathematics. The Deep Ancient's message contains information about the approaching transition that must be understood on multiple levels simultaneously. We need human pattern recognition to identify the emotional and conceptual content, combined with Korthani systematic analysis to decode the technical specifications. Zexhai found himself surrounded by equations that described technologies for manipulating the fundamental forces that held the universe together. Dr. Martinez was analyzing conceptual frameworks that explained how consciousness could be used to reshape reality itself. Neither could have understood their portion of the message without the other's contribution. "My God," Martinez whispered. "They're not just returning from dormancy. They're bringing technologies that will allow us to rebuild the galaxy from the quantum level up." "But that's not all," Zexhai added, his voice tight with awe and terror. "Some of these equations describe how to disassemble existing reality structures. This isn't just about advancement. It's about fundamental transformation of everything we know." Pattern of Stars nodded gravely. The Deep Ancients awakened because they detected signs that current galactic civilization has reached the limits of its development potential. Without intervention, all intelligent species will stagnate and eventually disappear. "What kind of intervention?" Ambassador Chen asked. "Complete reconstruction of the technological and social foundations that support galactic civilization. New physics, new forms of consciousness, new relationships between matter and energy. The galaxy you know will cease to exist." The implications were staggering. Zexhai realized they were discussing the end of the universe as every known species understood it, replaced by something so advanced that current intelligence couldn't even conceptualize its basic principles. "What happens to existing civilizations during this transition?" "That depends on how well they adapt to the new paradigms," Pattern of Stars replied. "Species that embrace the transformation will transcend their current limitations and become something greater than they ever imagined possible. Species that resist will be preserved as they are, but isolated from the transformed galaxy." Dr. Martinez was studying additional sections of the message with growing excitement. "There are instructions here for preparing allied species for the transition. Consciousness expansion techniques, reality manipulation training, technologies for interfacing with cosmic-scale intelligence. And warnings about opposition forces," Zexhai added, his analysis revealing darker sections of the communication. "Apparently, some existing galactic powers are planning to resist the transformation through military force. The hegemony of pure thought has already begun developing weapons designed to disrupt ancient technologies," Pattern of Stars confirmed. "They believe they can maintain their current power structure by eliminating the Deep Ancients before full awakening occurs." Ambassador Chen looked up from her own analysis of the message. "Can they succeed?" "They cannot destroy the Deep Ancients, but they could potentially delay the transition by several thousand years. Such a delay would result in the collapse of current galactic civilization as resources are exhausted and species decline into stagnation." Lumi approached the central console, adding its own understanding to the collective analysis. "This is why Earth's Alliance Network was created. The transition requires willing cooperation between established civilizations and ancient wisdom. Military resistance will only ensure mutual destruction." Dr. Martinez stepped back from the swirling patterns, her face pale with the magnitude of what she had discovered. "How long do we have to prepare for this?" Pattern of Stars consulted data streams that flowed through dimensions invisible to the research equipment. "The Deep Ancients will begin active participation in galactic affairs within 20 standard years. Full transformation will commence in approximately 50 years. And the opposition forces? They are mobilizing now. We estimate the first direct conflicts will begin within 5 years." Zexhai felt his understanding of military strategy undergo fundamental revision as he processed the implications. "We're not talking about conventional warfare, are we?" conflicts involving reality manipulation technologies, consciousness-based weapons, and attempts to edit fundamental physical laws, pattern of stars confirmed. Your species' current understanding of warfare will be completely inadequate. Ambassador Chen activated her personal communication device. I need to brief the Earth Council immediately. This changes our entire preparation timeline. Director Zexhai, Lumi addressed the Korthani officer directly. We need you to return to your empire with a modified alliance proposal. The Korthani military will play a crucial role in protecting allied civilizations during the transition conflicts. What kind of role? Reality anchor positions. Korthani systematic thinking makes your species particularly suited for maintaining stable physical laws in areas affected by reality manipulation weapons. Human creativity will develop the techniques, but Korthani discipline will make them practical for large-scale deployment. The concept of using military forces to maintain the fundamental laws of physics was so far beyond conventional strategy that Zexhai's tactical training algorithms simply stopped functioning. How do we prepare our forces for something like this? Dr. Martinez smiled despite the overwhelming nature of their situation. The same way humanity has always adapted to impossible challenges. One step at a time, with a lot of imagination and a willingness to learn. Over the following hours, the combined human Korthani analysis team worked to decode the remaining portions of the Deep Ancient's message. What they discovered was both terrifying and magnificent. A blueprint for transforming galactic civilization into something that could exist on cosmic scales, supported by intelligence that operated across multiple dimensions simultaneously. But they also discovered evidence of opposition forces that possessed technologies capable of unmaking entire star systems. The approaching transition would not be a peaceful evolution, but a conflict that would determine whether galactic civilization would transcend its limitations or collapse into cosmic insignificance. As Zexhai prepared to return to Kortha Prime with news that would reshape his empire's entire future, he reflected on the strange path that had brought him to this moment. 6 months ago, he had been a simple military commander planning the conquest of a primitive world. Now he was helping to prepare for a cosmic transformation that would redefine the nature of existence itself. The irony was not lost on him that humanity, the supposedly primitive species he had intended to conquer, had become the key to his civilization's survival in a universe far stranger and more dangerous than any Korthani had ever imagined. Outside the research facility, Earth's protective fleet had expanded to include vessels whose designs seemed to shift between different dimensional states. The mysterious Guardians were preparing for conflicts that would determine the fate of every intelligent species in the galaxy. And somewhere in the depths of space, ancient powers that had slumbered for millions of years were stirring to awareness, bringing with them technologies that could reshape reality itself or destroy it completely. The galaxy was about to discover why no alien force ever attacked Earth after Nightfall. Because Earth's protectors weren't just defending one world. They were preparing to defend the future of intelligence itself. 2 years had passed since the first ancient communication, and the galaxy had become a very different place. Commander Sarachin Korthak stood on the observation deck of the battle station Harmony's Edge, watching as reality itself rippled and twisted around the hegemony of Pure Thought's latest weapon test. The hybrid human Korthani officer represented everything the traditional galactic powers feared about the new alliance network, a being who thought with both species' cognitive patterns and commanded technologies that made conventional warfare obsolete. Her cybernetic implants, a fusion of Korthani engineering and human intuitive design, processed data streams that included information from 17 different dimensional layers simultaneously. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the hegemony's reality disruption cannon charging for another test firing at the captured moon they were using as a target. Sarah, we're getting quantum fluctuations that suggest they're about to attempt something really stupid, reported Dr. Marcus Webb from the sensor station. The human physicist had undergone consciousness expansion training that allowed him to perceive mathematical relationships across multiple dimensional frameworks. How stupid, she asked. They're trying to create a reality bubble where ancient technologies simply don't function. If they succeed, it could propagate across several star systems. Sarah's Corthani-enhanced analytical systems immediately calculated the implications. A reality bubble that negated ancient technologies would also eliminate the protective fields keeping several allied worlds habitable. Millions of civilians would die within hours. Signal the Deep Harmony and the Starlight Nexus. Emergency intervention protocols. The two vessels that responded to her call represented the pinnacle of Alliance military development. The Deep Harmony was a Corthani dreadnought upgraded with consciousness interfacing systems that allowed its crew to pilot the ship through thought alone. The Starlight Nexus was a human exploration vessel that had been transformed into something resembling a living organism through ancient biotechnology. Admiral Corksthul's familiar scarred visage appeared on the main screen, now enhanced with cybernetic upgrades that allowed him to process ancient tactical data. Commander, what's the tactical situation? The hegemony is about to test a reality negation weapon that could destabilize the protection fields around New Corthana and Haven Station. We need immediate intervention. Understood. What are our rules of engagement? Sarah consulted the Alliance protocols that had been developed through three-way negotiations between humans, Corthani, and Earth's protectors. Maximum force authorized. This is a Category 7 threat to civilian populations. Acknowledged. Implementing ancient war protocols. Through the observation port, Sarah watched as the two Alliance vessels moved into position around the hegemony test site. What followed challenged every assumption about space combat that had guided galactic military thinking for millennia. The Deep Harmony didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, its crew reached out with their consciousness-enhanced perception and simply convinced the hegemony's reality disruption cannon that it had never been built. The massive weapon installation flickered and then faded from existence as local space-time was edited to exclude its presence. The Starlight Nexus took a more direct approach. The vessel's living hull sprouted tentacles of crystallized thought that reached across several light years to wrap around the hegemony fleet. Rather than destroying the enemy's ships, it gently relocated them to a parallel dimension where their aggressive intentions had been replaced by curiosity about ancient philosophies. Target neutralized, Admiral Corksthul reported. No casualties, minimal space-time disruption. The hegemony vessels have been relocated to educational facilities where they can learn about the benefits of cooperation. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. Excellent work. Return to patrol stations and maintain monitoring for additional reality manipulation attempts. As the Alliance fleet resumed its positions, Sarah reflected on how completely warfare had been transformed by the integration of ancient technologies. Conflicts were no longer about destroying enemies, but about educating them, protecting civilians, and maintaining the stability of reality itself. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission from Earth. Ambassador Chen appeared on the screen, but she was no longer the middle-aged diplomat who had first greeted the Corthani fleet. Consciousness expansion training had transformed her into something that existed partially outside linear time, allowing her to coordinate Alliance activities across multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. Sarah, we've received confirmation from the Deep Ancients. The final phase of the transition begins tomorrow. What does that involve? Active participation by the eldest ancient intelligences in galactic governance. They're going to reveal technologies that will allow any intelligent species to transcend their current limitations and achieve cosmic-scale consciousness. Sarah's enhanced perception allowed her to understand the implications immediately, and the species that refuse the transition will be preserved exactly as they are, but in pocket dimensions where they can continue existing without interfering with transcended civilizations. No one will be forced to change, but no one will be allowed to prevent others from evolving. Through her cybernetic interfaces, Sarah could sense the vast preparations taking place across the galaxy. Alliance worlds buzzed with excitement as their populations prepared for consciousness expansion that would allow them to perceive reality from cosmic perspectives. Opposition forces made desperate last-ditch attempts to develop weapons that could somehow resist or destroy ancient technologies. Ma'am, what about the civilian populations on opposition worlds? Many of them want to participate in the transition, but are being prevented by their governments. Ambassador Chen's expression showed the infinite patience that came with cosmic-scale perspective. The Deep Ancients are remarkably gentle beings, Sarah. They've been preparing individual extraction protocols for every sentient being who wishes to participate in the transition, regardless of their government's position. The implications were staggering. Within hours, billions of individuals who wanted to transcend their current limitations would be given the opportunity, even if their leaders opposed the transformation. How many are expected to participate? Current projections suggest approximately 93% of all intelligent beings in the galaxy will choose conscious evolution. The remaining 7% prefer to maintain their current state of existence. Sarah's human intuition combined with Corthani analytical precision to process the magnitude of what they were discussing. The galaxy was about to undergo the most complete transformation in its history, with the vast majority of its inhabitants choosing to become something greater than they had ever imagined possible. "Commander," Dr. Webb called from his sensor station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from the deep ancient emergence sites. Whatever they're planning to reveal, it's going to be spectacular." The main display activated, showing real-time images from across the galaxy as ancient installations that had lain dormant for millions of years began awakening to full activity. Crystalline structures the size of space stations rose from planetary surfaces. Energy patterns that defied conventional physics created aurora-like displays around entire star systems. And, from the deepest regions of space, beings began emerging whose presence was so vast that their consciousness could be felt across multiple star systems simultaneously. "My God," Dr. Webb whispered. "These aren't just advanced aliens. They're intelligences that operate on scales we can't even comprehend." Sarah watched through her enhanced perception as the first deep ancient made direct contact with galactic civilization. The being existed partially in normal space and partially across 17 different dimensional layers, making it impossible to determine its actual size or form. When it communicated, every intelligent being in a 12-light-year radius could feel its thoughts directly. "Children of the galaxy," the vast intelligence said, its voice reaching every mind simultaneously. "The time of limitation ends now. Those who choose growth, step forward. Those who prefer stability, remain at peace. All choices will be honored." Across the galaxy, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Billions of beings from hundreds of different species reached out with their consciousness, accepting the offered transformation. Sarah felt her own awareness expanding as ancient technologies interfaced with her hybrid human Corthani neural patterns, revealing perspectives that encompassed cosmic scales of space and time. Through her transcended perception, she could see the galaxy as a living organism composed of interconnected intelligences, each contributing unique insights to a collective consciousness that spanned multiple universes. The Corthani Empire's systematic analytical approach blended seamlessly with human creative intuition, while thousands of other species contributed their own cognitive specialties to the growing galactic mind. "Do not fear the loss of individuality," the deep ancient continued. Transcendence amplifies what makes each species unique rather than eliminating it. "You will remain yourselves, but become more than you ever imagined possible." Sarah felt her consciousness stretching across light years, making contact with other transcended beings across the Alliance network. Admiral Corkstall's military precision now operated on scales that allowed him to coordinate defensive operations across entire galactic sectors. Dr. Martinez's archaeological expertise let her communicate directly with ancient technologies to unlock capabilities that had been dormant for eons. But, most remarkably, the transcended beings retained their fundamental humanity, their essential Corthani-ness, their core species identity. They had become more than they were without losing what they had been. "The galaxy you have known served its purpose as a nursery for developing intelligence," the deep ancient explained. "What begins now is the true expression of consciousness, intelligence working in harmony to explore realities beyond the physical universe." Through her expanded awareness, Sarah could perceive the opposing forces that had rejected the transformation. The hegemony of pure thought and several other militant civilizations had been gently relocated to pocket dimensions where they could continue existing exactly as they preferred, but without the ability to interfere with transcended civilizations. No intelligence will be abandoned or destroyed. Asterisk the ancient being assured the galaxy. Asterisk those who choose limitation will be protected and preserved. Those who choose growth will explore wonders beyond current imagination. All paths are valid. Asterisk as the transformation process continued, Sarah found herself serving as a coordinator between transcended human creativity and Korthani systematic thinking. Her consciousness existed simultaneously on the battle station Harmony's edge and in a vast dimensional nexus where Alliance intelligences worked together to explore new forms of reality. The work they were beginning was magnificent beyond description. Transcended civilizations were designing new types of universes where consciousness could exist in pure form. They were discovering ways to communicate with intelligences that existed entirely outside spacetime. They were learning to create realities where impossible became merely improbable. But through all the cosmic-scale exploration and universe-spanning consciousness, Sarah retained her essential human curiosity and her Korthani sense of